As always, our daily word for today is inspiration, so Judy is our inspiration, but she's inspired me to action. This morning we were talking about that beautiful melody, love is a many-splendored thing, and so I'm inspired now to go home and I just tell my TV to play that movie, and it just appears through the miracle of technology. So I'll be watching that this afternoon. It's been a long time. Well, welcome, friends, to Unity South Twin Cities. I welcome you this morning. You may think we're small in number in the sanctuary, but just a reminder, many of our regular attendees are traveling this weekend. And although it's not appropriate to reveal who and where, I can remind you that this service is enjoyed by more than those you see. And I just heard last week in particular, our good friend Ron Belter, who is still recovering, but he watched our services twice from last Sunday because he enjoyed singing along with Judy and Adam on saxophone and the music that they played. So your inspiration goes far beyond these walls, Judy. So let's get more inspired as we stand and sing our opening song, We Greet the Spirit. You'll find the words on the back of your bulletin. We'll sing it 3 times. We greet the Spirit when we sing and pray. We greet the Spirit on this glorious day. We greet the Spirit that's in every one of us. We greet the Spirit in you. Pick someone out to point to. We greet the Spirit when we sing and pray. We greet the Spirit on this glorious day. We greet the Spirit that's in every one of us. We greet the Spirit in you. We greet the Spirit when we sing and pray. We greet the Spirit on this glorious day. We greet the Spirit that's in every one of us. We greet the Spirit in you. Very good. You may be seated. Well, I hope you all were singing at home who are watching us through the miracle of online live streaming. We greet the Spirit in you as well. Please send us your name and location in the chat stream so that we know you are with us. And if you have the ability, press that share button and send the service out to your network of friends. It may be just the blessing they need today. For those who are in the sanctuary, if you are carrying any technology with you, please turn off your phones or other items so that we don't have any unexpected noise. Today, Judy Moen, our music director, has invited a new guest. Woo! Braden Canfield is with us today, so we're looking forward to that. And I invite you to take the opportunity after the service to greet him. join in our unity of purpose. To acknowledge your presence, Father, Mother, God. Your eternal Spirit is our true source of life, wisdom, love, and strength. Our creative power in thought, feeling, word, and action flows forth from you, the life spring of all creation. Our goals, our hopes, our accomplishments are all rightly formed through your power. Today, our intentional prayers for ourselves, those dear to us, and by extension, the entire world, are realized as we focus upon truth. You give us day by day the vision and the substance to shape life and community in ways that benefit all. You inspire us to selfless service that brings our fulfillment and joy. For those who may struggle in this world at this time, we commit our compassionate help and insight and concern. And as we do, we discover an ever-expanding community that includes all. We now commit to live with others in unity, reflecting the limitless love of our Creator as we affirm our statement of being together. There is but one presence and one power in my life, in this church, and in the universe, God, the omnipotent good. And so we say, Amen. And at this time, I invite my helper to the platform.
Good morning, everyone. Let's welcome our visitors joining us in person or online. Please turn toward the camera in the back of the sanctuary and wave. And we'll greet them with, we welcome you, we bless you, and we're glad you're with us today. We welcome you, we bless you, and we're glad you're with us today. All right. Now let's do a couple of exercises to get us out of our egos and help us tune into that frequency which makes all things possible. The light of God shines in all of us. So for everyone here, we hold this thought. I behold the Christ in you. Let's speak it together. I behold the Christ in you. Now go ahead and look around the room and see that perfection in everyone. As you do this, know that you are giving a gift to them as well as to yourself. Now imagine someone watching the service online and do the same for them. Okay, now let's show respect for seekers everywhere who turn their attention toward the source of all. We offer this blessing for all religious communities. We honor and respect your truth. Together, we honor and respect your truth. Now, returning our focus to our ministry, let us join with the Unity South centering statement. Centered in God, assured by faith, and prospered by divine love, we boldly move forward to serve humanity by building our lives and Unity South Church together. Okay, now for the announcements. Today's flowers are given by Nancy Sickerum in remembrance of her mother, Rosalie Smolin, who was born 80 years ago on February 22nd. Happy heavenly birthday, Mother Rose. Join us next Sunday, February 27th, as Reverend Stacey concludes his 4-week lesson series on the universal Christ. Richard Rohr authored his powerful book to help everyone regain a sense of creation's original goodness. In this last lesson, two witnesses to Jesus and Christ, the relationships of Mary Magdalene and Paul to Jesus of Nazareth and the risen Christ, will set the stage for our Lenten journey toward Easter. Judy Moen and musical guest Colleen Wold-Heibeller will amaze us with their music, and Mark Johnson will be our service assistant. Okay, finally, you are invited to join a Contemplation No Workshop. That's right, I said Contemplation No Workshop. This Wednesday, February 23rd, 7 to 8:30 p.m. The presentation and experience is offered by Patty Tangi at no cost. Please pre-register by emailing Patty. And that brings us to today's daily word, which is inspiration. It begins, I am grateful to those who inspire me. I admire and respect the sacred calling and work of innovative and groundbreaking thinkers and leaders. The work they have done to forge new paths and lead humanity in new directions inspires me. I've heard inspiration described as the breath of God, an inner quickening. This quickening is mine as I forge new paths and boldly journey forward, creating my life anew. To keep divine inspiration flowing, I make time to rest in contemplative stillness. I begin each day with a prayer for a receptive mind and heart. I pray for the courage and clarity to release my rigid expectations. I live in a state of gratitude for the inspiration that flows from God and the opportunity to share it. And from Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, then the Lord God formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. Let's claim this today. Let's own all of that. This quickening is mine as I forge new paths, creating my life anew. And now prayer chaplain Sharon Rolfson will lead us in community prayer.
We acknowledge the power of praying together with silent unity and all others of like mind. We join together and recognize the presence and power of God. Close your eyes if you wish and allow your being to become at one with health and wellness. Let there be health and wholeness in every aspect of our life. As we concentrate on all that is harmonious and healthy right now, I am confident in my well-being. We are aware there is no limit to the peace and abundance in the plenty that shows up in our life. Giving and receiving is our true nature. We are reminded as we give, we also receive. As we surround the prayer requests in our prayer box, let there be unity in every circumstance. We know that Spirit is working in their lives as they further awaken to the presence of their health, supply, and sense of purpose. We uphold the power of peace in all people. Let there be peace in the world, and let it flow from within the hearts of all people. Let me hold peace as a precious jewel. Let me lead with kindness and compassion in cooperation, keeping with God of all peace. The power of peace is in all people. As we close this community prayer, let us remember in the hours ahead that all authority is within us to demand the highest thought and action of our divine loving identity. As we sing together our Lord's Prayer.
Hallowed be
I will be available to pray with you this morning following the service in the meditation room. We'll be there for about 15 minutes or longer if you need. Prayer is the very center of Unity spiritual practice, and a chaplain is here every day of the week with the exception of Friday and Saturday to pray with you. Please show up and give us some company, otherwise we're here by ourselves with Reverend Stacey, which is okay too. All the prayers are confidential. And now our musical team, Braden and Judy.
There stands a misty mountain in the soft and gentle rain, against the flight of endless time, forever to remain. Through all the passing seasons and through every night and day, I can see that misty mountain, and I hear the Spirit say, "Oh brother, don't you weep. Oh brother, don't you weep no more. Sun's gonna shine on that golden shore. Oh brother, don't you weep. Oh sister, don't you weep. Oh sister, don't you weep no more. Sun's gonna shine on that golden shore. Oh sister, don't you weep." And up the rocky road of trouble, down the twisted path of pain, sometimes it is a struggle, sometimes we come up lame. But with children on our shoulder, we must face another day. And through their shining eyes of innocence, I can feel the children say, "Oh Father, don't you weep. Oh Father, don't you weep no more. Sun's gonna shine on that golden shore. Oh Father, don't you weep. Oh Mother, don't you weep. Oh Mother, don't you weep no more. Sun's gonna shine on that golden shore. Oh Mother, don't you weep." So when there's music all around you and you just can't seem to hear, when the answer's just around the bend but it never shows up clear, and when there's darkness right above you, it's hard to know and understand that there's a heart out there that loves you and a promise in your hand. Oh people, don't you weep. Oh people, don't you weep no more. Sun's gonna shine on that golden shore. Oh people, don't you weep. Oh people, don't you weep. Oh people, don't you weep no more. Sun's gonna shine on that golden shore. Oh people, don't you weep. Oh people, don't you weep.
thinking finds itself totally out of its league in dealing with things like love, death, suffering, infinity, God, sexuality, or mystery in general. It just keeps limiting reality to two alternatives and thinks it's smart because it chooses one. The two alternatives are always exclusionary, often in an angry way. Things are either totally right or totally wrong, with me or against me, male or female, Democrat or Republican, Christian or non-Christian, and on and on and on. This binary mind provides quick security and false comfort, but never deep wisdom. It thinks it is smart because it counters your idea with an opposing idea, and there is usually not much room for a reconciling third. Friedrich Nietzsche made the astonishing statement in the late 19th century, "God is dead." People were horrified the world over, and to this day they still talk about it. I saw an advertisement for a T-shirt offered on one of the public television stations. And it said, "God is dead" on the front, Friedrich Nietzsche. And on the back of the shirt it said, "Nietzsche is dead, God." But scholars of his work believed that he was really observing that God was dead in our awareness. In other words, humanity was losing the sense of wonder, awe, openness, the holistic view of life. Jesus long ago said, "Be perfect like your Father in heaven is perfect." That was always a statement that I couldn't quite get my head around. I make mistakes every day, so apparently I don't fit into the statement of Jesus. But if we look at his language of Aramaic, perfect was more the meaning of all-inclusive, all-embracing. Be all-inclusive like your Father in heaven is all-inclusive. Or that statement, "The rain falls on the fields of the just and unjust," not a reward for the moral, just the activity of nature that comes to all of earth. Surprise. Richard Rohr, metaphysics, which means what is real, that is changing, but our epistemology, which means how we think we know what is real. For that change, we can thank a combination of insights from psychology, therapy, spiritual direction, history, Eastern religions, along with the discovery of the Western and Christian contemplative tradition. All teaching a way of going beyond that binary or dualistic mindset that sees this or this. I had a good friend in Europe when I spent a year in Switzerland in school, and he was American, he was describing how he was invited into a German home for an evening of drink and hors d'oeuvres. And when he walked into the home, the hostess was there, and she said, "Savory or sweet?" Savory or sweet? Well, Glenn, being a good American and not unlike myself, said, "Well, I think I'll have a little of both." And the host just said, "No, you must choose." There was one table there, and there was one table there. Choose. She was not very tolerant of this idea of, I'll have a little of everything. Emily Cady, in her book Lessons in Truth, in the 12th lesson, which she entitled Unity of Spirit, she describes the scene of students peering through holes in a wall. And the first said, "Oh, I see the world. It is filled with these people we call Claire." Another student looked through another opening and said, "Oh no, I see the world. It's Judy and Sue and Russell and Lindy." And another, "Oh, you're wrong. I see the world, and it's Yvette and John Trotman." She said we can get stuck in seeing the world in our own circumscribed little views. And we miss that music, or those answers that are all around, because we're not in a place where we're willing to listen, not willing to hear what is being offered toward us. I learned another lesson when I was in Switzerland. One of my other friends, who also happened to be an American, was working in their Department of Natural Sciences. And I said, "Oh, what is your research?" And she said, "Well, I'm using a method we call phenomenology." And I said, "Oh, tell me more. I'm not familiar." And she said, "Well, I'm studying in the surrounding environment, trees." But she said, the challenge is, before I start, I have to empty my mind of all the categories that I've learned about trees. Well, you know, elms are this way, and oaks are this way. I have to try to open myself, empty myself of all these preconceived notions, and simply observe. And she said, if I take the time and I wait, the tree begins to reveal itself. Or in other words, she said, I begin to see things I never saw before. Hear music I'd never heard before, because I listened. I opened to it. Well, it's time I tell a story on myself. You know, Kansas City is my hometown, and I worked for Unity, the original congregation there, for many years. But on Saturdays, I needed something different. And so I'd go to the big Catholic cathedral in downtown Kansas City, because their musician and liturgist designed these beautiful services, very inspiring. And Monsignor Fiddler, an elderly man, told the most wonderful homilies. He's still my guide. He could do this jewel of what we would call a lesson in 5 to 7 minutes. Obviously, I have still not learned that, but he was my idol in how he could reveal something worthy, deep, and meaningful in such a brief time. One day, one Saturday, I showed up for Mass. He wasn't there, and when it was time for the homily, up came an even older, quite elderly priest in all of his vestments. And he came up to the stage, and I thought, oh boy, this is going to be boring. This old guy is going to be so traditional. Oh, maybe I should, wonder if I could get up and leave now. And then all of a sudden, a vision came to my mind. I don't think anyone else saw it. Came to my mind. And suddenly this priest stood up, and he pulled up his cassock and started tap dancing. And I heard him singing, "Let me entertain you. Let me give you a show." And suddenly I realized that was my own mind speaking within me, saying, you want this priest to entertain you, to be exciting enough that you pay attention and you don't feel like you're wasting 10 minutes of your week? Have you ever thought, James, what am I bringing to this service, that Mass? What am I contributing? No, I wasn't on stage that day, but my receptivity, what I was willing to be, was not only my experience of the Mass, but I believe it contributed to what that whole congregation experienced. When we're all willing to be open and receptive and not shut out anyone because we have notions of what that Democrat's going to say, what that person in their 70s is going to say, what that teenager's going to say. You don't know till you listen, till you're open and ready to receive. We each approach our daily life with a dictate. This is what I will do. It's Monday morning. Or we can take on a contemplative mind, asking ourselves, what am I willing to be so that this day can flow and unfold in a manner that can be a blessing for many, myself and others? Of course, neither approach is wrong. That's just making judgments. But there are very different outcomes. Do you ever have a day, I certainly do, that starts with several unexpected events? It happens often. Naturally, I get calls from the congregation. Something comes up. One day I came in and the parking lot was half flooded because a pipe had broken. That wasn't on my Monday morning plan. But I had to do something. Or a congregant calls. I should listen. And by noon, on days like that, I just throw my little list away. It's not going to be the day I had planned in my mind, but that's okay. One of our great Unity teachers from Unity headquarters, he's now retired, but Tom Thorpe, made this wonderful statement. I found it so helpful through the years, and after I graduated and was ordained, I had the opportunity to see Tom, and I said, where did this come from? I said, you know, I told a group, very sophisticated group in New York City about your statement. And they were just like, ooh, that's powerful. Well, Reverend Tom's statement was, show up, pay attention, respond in love. So it's a wonderful formula for starting your day with an openness. Yes, it's important to say, well, I've got to go to IKEA today, I've got to get gas today, I've got to go buy groceries today. Of course, we have our lists of things we need to do. But it leads to a very different outcome. To take Tom's advice, show up to life. It's not all about James. Thank you for those of you that think it is all about James. It's not all about me. Show up to life. Pay attention. And then respond in love. I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing your story with me. Can you tell me more? No, yeah, I've got to go do something. No, this willingness to be present. Whether it's your family here at Unity South, your work family, your family, people at school, strangers you meet at Mall of America. Are you open? Are you present to them? If you are, you'll make amazing discoveries about life that you would never find on your little to-do list. Richard Rohr writes, "What many have begun to see is that you need to have a non-dualistic, non-angry, non-argumentative mind to process the really big issues with any depth or honesty. And most of us have not been effectively taught how to do that in practice. We've largely been taught what to believe instead of how to believe. What to believe instead of how to believe. Unity, I think, at least I've stayed with it for 40 years because I found it meaningful and helpful. Earlier, as we started the year, I did a series of lessons on Unity's 5 principles. Many of you were here present for that. But I did it to kind of begin our year with a foundation of what our unity is about, where it starts from. And there's something very interesting. After those lessons were over, I thought back to them and I thought, well, this is interesting. Because Unity's 5 principles are not what we think of by tradition as a creed, telling us what to think. It's more about how to think. You remember them. The acknowledgement that our understanding of God, of Spirit, is always and everywhere present and absolute good. Contemplate that. Think about it, Sharon. What does that mean to you? God is always and everywhere present and absolute good. Principle 2. There is a divine spark, an ember of God within every one. We may call it original goodness. That's not telling me what to think about Judy. It's telling me to be aware of that divine truth at the very center of Judy. The 3rd principle, the law of mind action. That thoughts we hold have an effect on our life. Again, it's not telling us content or information. It's simply saying, be aware of the thoughts you are holding because they're shaping your life and everyone that comes near you. 4th, the importance of prayer or meditation, spiritual practice. It's not telling you what body position to hold, how to do it, what words to use. It's just saying, do a practice that's meaningful to you, that keeps you connected to the source of your very life, of your wisdom, of your compassion. Take time to remember your connection. And then the 5th principle, again, it's not telling you what to believe or what to do. It's just saying, it's not enough to think about what you believe. You have to practice it in your relationships, in what you do in the world, in your career. Put the ideas you hold, the big picture, into practice in your life. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. Unity, Richard Rohr says most of us have not been taught, but unity has been teaching us all along ways of building a contemplative mind that helps us to be open and receptive to the world, to others. A little counter to that, I've taught and I will teach again, Mastering Life's Energies by the psychologist Dr. Maria Nemoth. And she describes a mysterious process that most of us practice. She said, we would think that we look out to the world like scientists and collect evidence, and then we draw a conclusion. But most of us start with a conclusion, and then we look out to the world to collect evidence to support what we believed in the first place. Well, you know those people. And then we go out and look at those people. Look what they just did. I knew it. It's just what I always said about them. Starting with that preconceived notion, we can't hear them at all because we already know the answer. That does not create an openness that can hear ever-present music, that can receive inspiration or insight from the big picture. Because James has already defined what the answer is. Richard Rohr goes on to write, when Western civilization set out on its many paths of winning, accomplishment, and conquest, the contemplative mind seemed uninteresting or even counterproductive to getting things done. The contemplative mind got in the way of our left brain philosophy of progress, of science, of development, which were very good and necessary in their own way, but not for soul knowledge. There was a scientist, and I apologize that I did not write his name down, but not long ago he said, he and others of his field thought if we just knew enough, if we just did enough good research, perhaps polled enough people, we'd be able to find the answers to all of humanity's problems. But he said in current times we've begun to realize that a lot of humanity's problems have to do with human greed, prejudice, violence. We can go on and on. And he said, we scientists have no answer to that. It is soul knowledge. It is an inner reality of what am I willing to be? How am I willing to show up to this situation that good can come forth? I don't have a manual at home that I can go look up and say on Tuesday, February 22nd, James should do A, B, and C, and all will be well. James has got to show up on Tuesday, February 22nd, with an open heart and an open mind, if he's going to receive anything from those that he meets on that day. Through a contemplative mind, we can become one or unified with a greater vision, a fuller grasp of life's wholeness, a unity with the Spirit within all. Returning to our early teacher, Dr. Emily Cady, and her Lessons in Truth, Unity's foundational textbook for 120 years, she speaks of this unity of spirit. And she said, I encourage you, readers, to do all you can to break down those categories and barriers between you and others, to be able to hear, to be able to see the Spirit at work in all. That's why she called that 12th lesson, Unity of Spirit. Now, we live in a diverse world. She was not claiming, come on, folks, you got to all have the same opinion. You have to live your life exactly the same way as everybody else. That's not going to happen in this world. But if we continue in our country, perhaps the whole world, but I'll just talk about America, we've become very polarized. And this has been going on for a while. If you remember the words of Bill Clinton when he was president, in a speech he said, we have almost us and them'd ourselves to death. Breaking down barriers. That doesn't mean that you become like someone else, but you're willing to hear what's important to them. Doesn't mean you're going to become them, but you're going to hear them. As long as we put things and people and situations in opposite camps, nobody listens to anybody. There's no dialogue. And if you think, oh, well, how can I deal with the whole world? Jesus said, if you can't be true with the little things, how can you be true with the great things? Richard Rohr, in his book, says how you do the little things says a whole lot about how you're going to do the big things. So I can tell you, we can practice right here. We have this wonderful Unity South spiritual community. And if you'd like to serve on some committees or some strategic planning teams, I can hook you up with the right groups, and then you can practice what it is to hear others, to not negate their opinions, hear them, express your own truth, and together bring forth creative new solutions that we can all benefit from. Right here. And the way you do that will say a lot about how you would act as a leader nationally or throughout the world. Bless those in our world who've been called to leadership. Do you remember that amazing film, considered one of the greatest produced in our country, To Kill a Mockingbird? And the little children were upset with the hard times that their father, Atticus Finch, the town attorney, was going through, and a neighbor, a motherly figure, came to talk to the children. She said, I don't know the answer, but you have to be aware. Your father's been called to do the hard work, the difficult work in this community. Be patient. So we bless those throughout our nation and our world who've been called into roles of leadership. And we hold them in our prayers that they too can be guided by that infinite flow of goodwill and truth as they are willing to allow that to work through them. Calling them names in your own mind, categorizing them as one of those, isn't going to do you or them any good. Let me conclude the lesson with those famous, well-known words of Paul that he spoke to the early community in Rome. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Simply stated, we are transformed whenever we allow contemplation, being present and mindful to others and to the world. Choose each day whom you will serve. Will I serve goodwill, compassion, and possibility, helpfulness, respect? Or will I serve my prejudices, what I think I've always been told? I love, but we won't sing it now, that wonderful old camp song, Spirit of the living God, fall fresh on me. I invite you to close your eyes as we take a moment. I'll share the words Richard Rohr has written in his book. So just center yourself. Be open to this verse and accept its blessing. He calls it the divine mirror. A mirror, the sun, and God are all the same. They're all there, fully shining forth. Their very nature is light, love, and infinite giving. You can't offend them or make them stop shining. You can only choose to stop receiving. As soon as you look again, you will see they are there and fully radiating and have always been. And their message is constant, good, and life-giving.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I know the peace of God. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I know the peace of God. May my body find the strength and calm to carry me lightly on my way. May my mind know the still and empty place that allows my soul to stay within. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I know the peace of God. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I know the peace of God. May my lover find the fire in her dreams and the gentle touch of grace. May our daughters and our sons be known to God. May they recognize God's face within. May they be filled with loving kindness. May they know the peace of God. May they be filled with loving kindness. May they know the peace of God. And all my relations, mitake o asan, may they hear us when we call. In all creation, fin and feather, leaf and skin, as the circle closes all within. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we know the peace of God. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we know the peace of God.
Thank you. Let's do the offering. We are grateful for the gifts sent by mail or given online or received in this sanctuary. Together we will keep this ministry energized to complete its important mission so that all who turn to Unity South will be embraced, loved, empowered by our collective consciousness. Please hold your gift in hand or mind, for this is our sacred offering as we affirm. Divine love, flowing through me, blesses and multiplies all the good that I am and have, all the good that I give and receive, and I am grateful. And those in the sanctuary may leave their offerings in the container at the door.
Well, I invite you to stand and sing for our closing song. Again, you'll find the words on the back of your bulletin. And you might think this is a familiar song we've done, I release and I let go. And just kind of consider in your mind, what preconceived notions am I willing to release and let go? I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more troubles, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I am Spirit, run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggles, no more strife. It's like faith and see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. And as we prepare to leave and go about our activities of this day, let these be the last words upon our lips, our prayer for protection. Together, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, friends online, for being present. We appreciate it.